What's up, guys? It's your boys Awoki back with another of a Chriswatts video. And out of nowhere, you guys have sent me a link to a exclusive interview that was done 4 years ago, which I don't know how I have not seen this yet, but of them talking to Jeremy and Jennifer Lindstrom. I definitely want to take a look at this because they were the last ones to pretty much see the girls alive. And I looked at one of the comments and I'm starstruck. I don't want to tell you the comment yet because it's what made me look into this video to watch it, react to it, and so forth like that. So with that being said, before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down at the bottom right, hit that bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And also go over to this channel called Truth Talks Media. Go give them some love. Link is in the description. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. It looks like they have a vast majority of different cases as well. So with that being said, let's get into The Eyes of a Monster. Chriswatts.
We're very appreciative that you guys are here to actually hear this story firsthand from the people that actually probably saw them last. So introduce yourself.
I'm Jeremy Lindstrom.
And how do you know the what?
I know them because I worked with both of them.
Okay, go into a little bit of that for me. Worked with them as in how? What was your relationship?
Chris was a very good mechanic, master technician. Shanann was a salesperson at the dealership I was at. Met them there. They don't have family that live in Colorado, neither do we.
Because they're from
so we kind of struck
Florida.
off a little bit of a family friendship. They would come over to our house for birthday parties, our kids' birthday parties, Father's Day, Super Bowls, sporadic football games because they were big Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So, and we're from San Diego, so Chargers fans. If
Right.
they ever played, we were together for that
California.
game.
Not Florida.
They would have parties at their house for Steelers parties, and we'd go over and watch the game with them, and just random barbecues throughout the summer.
So your initial contact was through work, though.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Jennifer? How did you know them?
Through Jeremy. He met them both at work, and he said, hey, there's this nice couple, and they just moved out here, and they don't have any family, and we should, go out to dinner with them and hang out. And then after that, we just started hanging out with them regularly. And
So I kind of want to go back and forth between the two of you because I really want to set the stage.
I do.
There's
I
a
wanna
whole
hear
lot
it.
of documentation on this story. And in the documentation of the story, there is kind of a common theme, really, that most people didn't think this guy was capable of this.
No, absolutely not.
So I kind of want to get your perspective, when you first met him, kind of when you first got to know the guy and so on and so forth, and know Shanann, because part of this story is, and you'd said it before a little bit, most people think that you knew him first, but you actually knew Shanann better.
Yes.
So I kind of want to get that perspective on this. So I want you both, we'll start with you, kind of how you knew him first, and then I want to get your perspective on what you thought of both Chris and Shanann.
Shanann was very detail-oriented, very OCD in a way, right? Chris was mow the lawn, clean out the garage. It was a very old-school, traditional family value in their house. Chris was a mechanic. Shanann was a mother, right? Like, very traditional along a lot of those. I told her one day at work, hey, I want to meet with you every Monday at 1 o'clock. Let's go through your customers. Let's see what I can help you with. Let's see what I can do. She would show up in my office, whether I was ready or not, with her phone. My alarm went off.
Yeah.
She would hold me accountable for our meetings. And Chris was meticulous with everything. That kid was one of the best mechanics I've ever seen fixing cars. He had a passion for what he did fixing cars.
And he threw it away for a mistress.
At the store as a service guy. One day for his birthday, she bought him a supercharger for his Mustang.
She bought a supercharger for his Mustang? Do you realize how much those superchargers are? And yet they're like, oh, Shanann never did anything for Chris. A supercharger. They're like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, depending on what kind of vehicle it is. I'm guaranteed for a Mustang, it wasn't cheap.
Would you think anything different? No. She knew what he loved. He knew what she loved. It worked, right? Everything worked. He is a hardworking kid. Anything she said to do, he would do it. 100% of the time. Hey, my parents are going to move out here. You're going to fly out to the East Coast and you're driving the moving truck back and they're going to fly home. He's like, I'm good with that. I'll drive the truck so they can fly home. They don't have to ride in the truck, right? This is the kid that did this. So there's no way, shape, or form would I ever believe this could happen.
Well, there's certainly a consensus with a lot of the stuff that's out there that is a very accurate description from a lot
100%.
of people. How did you feel about the two?
Pretty much the same. Like Shanann was always, like from the moment I met her, she was always a super outgoing and super friendly. She wanted to, you know, when we first met her, she didn't have any kids yet, and she was, but you could tell that they really wanted to have kids, and she was really interested in, you know, our girls and what, you know, what they liked, and wanted to spend time with them. And then she got pregnant with her oldest, Bella, and you could tell that was, you know, always her dream is to have kids. And
Exciting moment.
yes,
Nothing seemed odd.
Well, she wasn't even sure she could have kids, right?
yeah, they did have, I know, some fertility problems with the first two, and
That
but-
she discussed with you?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, she just always really wanted to be a mom, and she loved, like, when she was pregnant, she would always be excited about, oh, I'm, you know, decorating the baby's nursery, and this is the theme I chose, and I got all the clothes ready, and they're all washed and hung up, but I'm only 4 months pregnant, and
So very type A, like Jeremy
Oh,
just
absolutely.
described.
yeah, very
Absolutely.
organized, and just always like
So
ready.
I feel
to go.
like we know a lot of
what's
this
the
already.
next thing, and you know, she just always had something going on that she could really dive into and be involved in, and just
And consistently that way every time you met him.
oh yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
So tell me how often that you guys did get together. I know we talked about some football games and some.
Care of, they were okay, right? Like that's just how it always happened. Hey, they wouldn't leave. Shanann's like, I want to help clean the kitchen. I want to help put the dishes away. I want to do this. Like that was normal, as normal as could be with really good friends.
Consistently every time too.
100%.
Oh, so Shanann liked to help other people, unlike the people that sit there and say that Shanann didn't help anybody and Shanann didn't care about anybody but herself and her girls. Oh my goodness.
Percent. So there was nothing early on where you were like, wow, this is an interesting type of dynamic relationship. It was actually one of those just really good old-fashioned school relationships.
No, this was a relationship that people would probably wish for. With what she demanded in life and his acceptable personality, fit.
Which is really interesting because it sets up a story that's almost unfathomable anyway.
Of how
And we're
this
gonna get
happened.
to that because we've talked off camera about this before, and this is what makes the story so intriguing to me, because it is very difficult to place. And we're going to ask you a lot of those questions because I know you feel the same way. So leading up to that night, I
I wonder if they talk about Nicole Kessinger and the mistress.
want to jump right into the night before. They're at your house.
Birthday.
The birthday. Describe that party.
I want to know.
That's the night before.
Extremely normal. We invited Chris because we knew Shanann was out of town. They talked, and we knew she wasn't going to be there.
Now, she was in Arizona.
yes.
Yes.
Did you talk to her while she was in Arizona?
No, I did not, but my daughter did because she had actually babysat the girls the night before the birthday party,
Correct.
so Chris could go to
Baseball game.
alleged baseball game.
Right.
When
I love how he says baseball game because he knew it wasn't a baseball game.
which I invited him to the Broncos game because I received tickets, and he told me he couldn't go because his work would be mad if he didn't use the tickets.
And this was the night before
I would have rather gone to the Broncos game, man.
the
Yeah.
party.
Yes.
Yeah, this was literally Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sunday was the
let's
party.
just start there. So the night before your party, you had invited him to the Bronco game.
Broncos.
I invited him a few days earlier, and that's when he texted me back, oh, I can't go. I got tickets to the Rockies game, and
I need
if
a
I don't use
babysitter.
them, my work's going to be mad that I didn't use them. And I get that because that's 100% normal conversation. Because if my work gave me their season tickets for the Broncos and they saw they didn't get scanned in, somehow they know.
Yeah.
They know they didn't get used.
Oh yeah.
Or if they find out they didn't get used, you're never getting tickets again.
So we know in hindsight, though, that he had taken
Wish
this
I
and
got
this
tickets.
to the game.
Right.
But you did not know that.
No.
Your friends, but did they have any other friends that they were really, really close to?
Amanda,
that they did a lot of things
Nick
with?
Thayer.
The Thrive friends, but we didn't know any of them. But I heard Shanann would talk about them.
But you guys had never heard any marital problems. Neither one of them had
No.
discussed any of that.
None of the marital, none of the financial, none of any of that.
On the surface, it's just like, this is the perfect family.
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody knew about their financial problems. A little bit that Nicole and Abby knew here and there of little things, but not like significant of this stuff.
So again, hindsight, we find this out. But you invite him. He says he's going to go to this game.
Normal excuse, normal everything. I don't think anything. I have zero radar of this kid ever lying to me. Zero radar, right?
Yeah.
And so when he said, "Oh, the work's going to get mad if I
believed
don't
him.
use these tickets," I get it.
Right.
I've been there. I
Makes
understand
sense.
that. Makes 100% sense. And I invited him because I thought I remembered him saying one time he'd never actually been to a live NFL game. So I was like, I thought of him right out of the gate. I'm like, why not? I know that.
And he didn't take it to spend time with Nicole. And he's never been to a NFL game. I've been to like 3 or 4 of them. A couple Viking ones, one Seahawk, and then one Green Bay Packer. I was dating a girl at the time, so. But I would have loved to go to an NFL game rather than go on a date with a mistress. What was this man thinking?
She's out of town, and before she had went to before she went to North Carolina, she's like, "Hey, make sure you call him and hang out with him. I don't want him doing anything dumb while I'm gone."
Now, when did
Right.
she leave to go to North Carolina? That was prior to.
That was what, 5 weeks before.
Maybe
Okay.
at the like more towards the beginning of the summer.
Right.
She had,
Did we think it was weird she was leaving for 5 weeks with the kids to North Carolina? Sure.
yeah.
Yes.
But Shanann's personality didn't lead down any paths of marital issues or anything, right?
Well, this is why we're getting your story, because you guys have a really interesting perspective on the story. Because again,
I really wanna
knowing
hear it.
people being friends. Now, there's a lot of times in relationships.
Give or take, there was no time.
Well, I mean, he was a little bit later, but he had mentioned when he got there that the girls had just woken up from their nap, and
And nap was very important. Shanann
Yeah.
had these girls on a
On a
schedule.
schedule.
Okay, so they were on schedule.
Yeah.
So nothing there was odd. It's
No.
just
Nope.
they were taking a nap and then they showed up. Okay.
Yep.
they were
And we
all there.
were playing water balloons in the backyard. Chris was throwing water balloons. The girls were throwing water balloons. They were all normal kids' birthday party. Nothing
What
crazy,
the
right?
heck?
Do you see why I ask these questions? Because on the outside, it's extremely difficult. And because you guys have this really intimate knowledge, this is why it's really an interesting topic. And I'm trying to make sure that we don't skip anything or miss anything. Because I think you guys would have caught it. You know him pretty intimately. So he's out there
If
playing.
anything was off.
Yeah.
Say that again?
If anything was off, absolutely we would have seen something.
Correct.
But they never knew it.
He would be out there playing with the water balloons because we talked about it earlier where you're like, he would kind of migrate towards where the
So that's where I don't believe when he sits there and says, "Oh, this is the last time I'm gonna tuck them into bed, and they're gonna be gone or whatever have you," because he took care of them. He made sure that they were fed and showered, and he read them a bedtime story. Like, would you do that knowing you're going to take them out? That doesn't make sense. So I don't know what you guys think when it comes to that, but I would surely like to hear what your guys' thoughts are.
kids are at.
Yep.
Okay. So he's out playing with the kids. Nothing out of the normal. He was a little bit late, but there's a nap. We kind of know that.
Right. Well, and
Okay.
at the same time, this is the first time we've seen one of them without the other. So we wouldn't have anything to judge off of.
Okay.
But it was still normal, like with the kids. But then when we got to the birthday cake, he was standing in there. He knew that the girls had allergies. She knows more
So
about
he
what
knew.
their allergies were, but he didn't let them have cake. He didn't let them have certain things because he knew they had allergies, right? We got them popsicles out of the garage because they could have popsicles. And then shortly after the cake, it was time for them to go home because
You know what's kind of interesting? Like he sat there and said he knew about their allergies. So he made sure to have food that would not have certain things in it, like the popsicles, or they couldn't have cake. So they had alternatives. The Watts family, Chris's side of the family, didn't do that.
their bedtime is 7-ish o'clock.
Again, on schedule.
On schedule.
So let me ask
100%.
you a question. When you were talking about the birthday cake, when he tells you they can't have it because of their allergies, was it just a sincere, I mean, was there anything about that where you would be like, okay, that's odd, or anything like that?
No, because I mean, we knew the kids had allergies, and he just said, I'm sorry, they can't have cake, and you could tell that they were disappointed. So that at that point, I said, okay, well, we have, just ice pops in the freezer outside.
And was that conversation the same conversation you'd always had with him?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Every birthday party's been the same. They can't have the cake.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
knew
Yep. So it was not
something.
abnormal by any means.
So there goes the whole Nutgate crap and stuff like that, and the whole that just threw a wrench into the whole Nutgate thing. Complete waste of drama and time that could have been prevented, but it sounded like Cindy on their end didn't care, or did it just to piss Shanann off because they knew about, or people, their friends knew about their allergies.
Yeah, I've replayed that birthday party in my head 1,000 times
Yes.
since then, just to see was there something that we missed that we could.
We haven't had his birthday party at our house since then.
Well, so one of the things
so
that
sad.
I certainly wanted to ask is, obviously at a birthday party you're taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys take a bunch of
Yes.
pictures that evening?
Oh yeah.
And tell me anything about the pictures. Was there anything about the pictures that stood out to be different?
Somebody told me that he says Chris looks demonic.
No. Not well. Here's so. In my mind, and I have the picture, and I can send it to you now. Somebody tried to steal it off my Facebook page from another media source, right? And I had them take it down, and they did take it down. But I have a picture of him standing in the background of my kid blowing out a candle, right? And it's probably the most awkward, lack of better words, just that's the image that's in my brain of him blowing out his candles and Chris standing behind him and the girl standing on the side with Bella looking up and over trying to watch him blow out his candles. Right? That's my last image of them.
So
It's
when you
burned in his
see that
mind.
picture and you see him, is it a different Chris Watts than you knew?
You keep looking at it and his face changes, right? Every time I look at that photo, his face changes, and now it's like, that's a creepy fucking picture.
Yeah.
Right? Like for real.
He truly looks evil in that picture.
Yes.
Truly.
That
In the
is
beginning,
so interesting.
absolutely not. Now, absolutely, right?
Because
Like what she
and the way his eyes, he's just like slightly looking up at towards the camera, just with like no soul in his eyes.
Did you have the same visceral response as Jeremy did?
Yeah.
When you saw that picture?
Yeah, and it was the same too when we saw him being in his infamous porch interview after everything happened.
Right.
He looked and sounded different in that interview. Like it wasn't him. It was him obviously, but he looked and sounded different.
So
and same
you
with that
almost
picture.
knew then, because we're going to get to this in a little bit, because
Yeah.
you haven't kept up quite as much as she has.
Right.
in there.
And
So-
I'm probably one of 3 supporters that thought that news interview was not what everybody else saw. Right? When you're inside the bubble and you don't want to believe things, you still don't see things.
He's like,
Well,
oh,
I'm going to
that's
get
Chris.
to that because I'm going to really hammer that hard because especially with, I mean, you were there, you were at the house, but I'm going to bring that up in just a second. So as with anybody that goes to a birthday party or anything, there comes that moment where it's time to go. And obviously Shanann's not there who would have cleaned up and made sure all that happened. Was there any anxiety, anything, or was the departure also what you would consider normal?
Extremely normal.
Was it, come on, girls, let's get in the car? I mean, what was
Yeah.
that?
It was bedtime's coming up, right?
Yeah.
We know that. We know Shanann's schedule. Like, she has a schedule, and if you tell us it's her schedule, we're going to say,
Yep.
okay,
No problem.
Yeah.
right? That's okay, right? And we don't.
Yeah. Well, and they stayed a long time too. It's not like they were there and left in 30 minutes.
Well, that's what I want to know.
they
The
were
party
there.
started how long were they there?
Probably for 3 hours.
Yeah, was it 3 or 4 hours normal?
They were there for
And that would be normal.
Yeah, they were there for the playing and the eating and the cake and the presents. Like, they're in all, during a party, you take a series of pictures, like of the kids playing, of the presents and the cake. They're in all of those events that happened at the party, and then they, just.
And he doesn't drink or anything,
Yeah.
right?
So they just said, all right, well,
Nothing.
we've got to get going.
So he had nothing to drink.
No.
He doesn't drink, but yet when he was on a date with Nicole, he drank. Huh.
No, he doesn't.
He
He
doesn't
doesn't drink.
Mm-mm.
Not his thing.
Yeah.
I don't drink. I don't like.
Very, very, very fascinating because, again, this is kind of the story I think that a lot of people have never heard before.
Right.
And
Ever since my son was born, I just gave it up. And dipping.
it's
Never
a real
looked back.
interesting thing because, again, we can all put ourselves in that situation to know what is coming down the pipeline here. You would absolutely think that there would be something out of place or something not right.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way in my brain that this kid said, hey, can't wait to marry that girl so we can have kids and kill them all.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
It's a good analogy there.
that's not how that works, I guess. Like,
Are you convinced that, obviously I think we know through, what investigations have taken place that it was pre-planned. He knew he was going to do that.
based on all the stuff I've heard since then, apparently, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
kind
how
of the consensus.
How can anybody freaking go to a kid's birthday party knowing that
They're
hey,
gonna be-
hurry up? Why would you protect the cake? Like, all that shit goes through my head, right?
Right.
Why would you care that they're allergic to something
That's what I
if
said.
you're about to take them home and freaking do what you did?
Yeah.
I think the same thing. Why would you protect them and take showers, or you're giving them a shower, you're giving them, or a bath or whatever have you, you're feeding them, you're all doing, because the kids were not meant to be in the crossfire. It was supposed to be just Shanann, which I think is still horrendous. Shanann should have not lost her life. The baby should have never lost his life. The girls never, but the girls were in the crossfire. They ended up seeing what happened. I just have a feeling about it.
It doesn't work, right?
It doesn't, which is kind of that gap of speculation. Did the guy really intend to do it while he was at the birthday party? Did he?
According to his post interviews that I've seen, it was weeks before. I believe the kid, maybe I'm going too far into the story, but when he got with this other girl and got to go camping and got to go to the Shelby Museum, which he's a big Ford mechanic, right?
Yeah.
That's his passion, was Ford mechanics. His passion wasn't the oil field. It was the Ford mechanic. It was going camping, going to the Shelby Museum, going to all these Moab and everywhere else he got to go in that 5 weeks period of time, probably is what transformed his brain to a lifestyle that he didn't have, that he didn't know existed, and then wanted.
Yeah, there is a lot of speculation to that,
Right.
and kind of how that transition went. There are certainly a ton of interviews. Here at Truth Talks, we don't want to, we don't want to put everybody else's perspective into this because it's really about you guys telling the
Yeah.
story. But there is certainly some perspective that, that it had been going on for a while. The thought process was there, and then obviously we did it. That's why it's so interesting to know that you guys saw them the night before.
Yeah.
That was what was really interesting. One of the other things we want to talk about is, again, when you hear that, your daughter babysat for them.
Yes.
That's got to be a little chilling too.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and her story was when she babysat the night for the baseball game, right? When she came home, she had mentioned the pantry was a mess. Like, the house was a mess. It was not clean anymore. It was not organized anymore. There was zero regard for everything that Shanann does at the house. Right? She's like, I've never seen that house that dirty. Stuff was everywhere.
And that is interesting because that's the whole reason why I wanted to bring that up is
so he had to have either cleaned up that night or cleaned up after he had murdered Shanann before he left, because the house was immaculate when he came home and let the police officers inside. So when did he have time to clean all that?
there was something awry that as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And your daughter noticed that.
Yeah.
Right.
And brought that to your attention. So
Good
we know
attention
that,
to
man,
detail.
it is really structured how they live their life, but yet she noticed that there was something not right.
Right.
Yeah.
And was there anything else that she said?
Yes, it was about the allergies. So when I picked her up, she said that
Bella.
everything went good. She said that I said, well, how did bedtime go? Because I know if she would to be babysitting her brother, bedtime wouldn't go good. He wouldn't want
Right.
to go to sleep, and but I know they have a very regimented schedule. So she said that Cece went to bed
Super
pretty
easy.
easily on time, but then Bella went to bed and then came downstairs and said she wasn't ready. She wasn't tired yet, wasn't ready to go to bed. And through some conversation that she had with Bella, Bella had mentioned that her sister can't have coconuts, and that she does have coconuts, that she won't be able to see her anymore. So that really stood out to my daughter.
To
and
say
she
that the night before.
thought that was kind of sad that she, had thought that in her little mind, but
Possibly
Yeah.
someone had told her if she has an allergic reaction to it
Yes.
that they could
Yeah.
die or something like
yeah.
that.
So it's probably just so that she would know to, help watch out, so
Yeah.
that
Look
she
out
doesn't eat
for
the
her
wrong
sister.
foods. But then, eventually Bella settled down and went to sleep. Another strange thing was that Chris, when she got there, Chris ordered pizza and said the girls have already had all their medications, because my daughter was a little worried, like, am I going to have to give them medications at certain times?
So why would he be giving the kids medication if he knew that they're going to be gone?
Am I going to have to give them nebulizer treatments because they had asthma? So she was worried about the medications and giving them the right medications. But he said, no, they're all good. I gave them their medications. You just have to feed them and put them to bed. They were already in their pajamas. Chris didn't leave his phone number with her, and she didn't leave her phone number with him. It wasn't like a conversation. And he didn't, contact Jeremy or any of us to ask how the girls were doing. But Shanann, who was in Arizona, contacted our daughter to check on the girls and asked her to send pictures of them.
So Shanann must have known that he was at the game.
Yeah, she
Just
knew.
not
Yeah,
with
she
him.
knew that she was babysitting and that he was at the game. But she was the one that was checking in on how things were going with the girls, not Chris.
But that's kind of still par for the course, right?
Yeah.
Because she was always the one that was going to make sure everything was in order and detail.
Yeah.
So again, probably not too out of the ordinary for their lifestyle.
Yeah, but I guess he assumed if there was some sort of emergency that she would just contact me, because I was, at home right down the street.
Right.
So
after your guys' party, then we know that fateful night, right? So I want to go through when you first heard about it. I mean, obviously you're at this party, they're there, the girls are there, he's there, the girls are with him. You go to bed that evening. Was it the next morning, right?
That we found out?
Yeah,
the next
No, it was the
evening,
next night.
Yeah.
the next night.
I was sitting on the couch. I came home from work. watching TV, looking at Facebook on my phone, and I noticed that there was a post that the girls were missing, all 3 of them. And I kind of looked at it and then
Didn't think anything of it.
Right? My mindset is not that this is the family that something would happen to. And I had seen it again, and I looked over at her and I said, I think Shanann and the girls are missing. And I don't know what that means. So I'm going to text Chris. And I texted him.
And this is the next night.
Yes.
Next night.
So
The 14th.
the way the story goes is that the friend who dropped her off at, I think it was 1:48 a.m., they just come back from a conference. She'd missed an OBGYN appointment, and the friend was actually who called the police
Yep.
and called Chris as
Right.
well.
Yep.
Which is interesting because we've discussed this case before as we were kind of preparing, and we both were kind of like, who really follows up that quickly? I mean,
Right.
I don't think we would have, but obviously a good friend of hers, probably knowing that the type A personality, if they didn't answer that first time, then something's going on.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the initial setup that was going on, but you guys didn't know any of that was taking place.
No.
But after
I
you
knew
saw
she
it,
was getting home in those 2 days, right? Like,
yeah.
we knew that much.
When you guys heard that part of the story, was that shocking at all for you? Knowing that the neighbor would be like, hey, she didn't answer this text, she missed OBGYN appointment.
Well, my instant reaction is, how does somebody's friend know that they missed a doctor's appointment? Nobody's doctor ever called me because one of my buddies missed an appointment, right?
Right.
That's
Because to clarify that for those people that want to sit there and say that Nicole Atkinson is involved. So Nicole knew about her having an appointment because they talked on the plane beforehand, and Shanann told Nicole, hey, I got an OBGYN appointment and so forth like that, so we can hang out later on, because they planned on talking later on that afternoon, and then they were going to go to dinner, or Chris was going to go to dinner, or Shanann was going to go with Chris because they had plans. Where's my train of thought going? So that's how she knew, but the how do I say this? Nicole Atkinson knew where her OBGYN appointment was because she's gone with her before. So she went to the doctor's appointment or doctor's place, didn't, like, you can't ask for certain things. She's like, did Shanann Watts show up? They said no. That's how Nicole Atkinson knew that Shanann didn't make it to her appointment.
my mindset of things. What they talked about in Arizona or what they did in Arizona or a conversation from the airport, I don't know any of that, right?
Yeah.
Who knows if there wasn't a conversation that was like, hey, if you don't hear from me, right? Like, I don't know. Now that everything I know later brings me back to some of this,
Right.
which is all speculation in my head, right? But when I followed this through, and I'm like, there's no way he did anything. Who calls the cops after dropping somebody off at 2 a.m. or whatever at 10 a.m. because they missed a doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's doctor calls that.
Because they were worried because she could see that Shanann's shoes were there. The car was still there. The car seats were still in the garage because they could see it from the top right. And that's when they started to kind of freak out and so forth. I mean, I probably would have done the same thing too. If I saw those things were there and Shanann wasn't there.
Somebody else to say, hey, your friend missed an appointment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? That's my brain.
Yeah, no, I kind of went down that road too. And then what is interesting is, but we're talking now, this is like noon, the police have showed up, they're talking about, but then it hits the airwaves that night.
Well, and at the end of the day, good for her, right?
Right.
Good for her for having
absolutely.
the wherewithal to know that something's wrong.
Yeah, something's
Right.
wrong.
Because we knew them and we were close to them and we didn't speculate anything
Yeah.
would ever be wrong.
Yeah.
But you weren't
But
as
so
close
good
as
for her, right?
Nicole.
But you then hear this information how and when?
On Facebook at about 8:30 at night, and I looked at her and I said, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay?
What was the initial message that you saw?
On
That
Facebook?
said, yeah, did
Was
it
that
say
the girls are missing, help find my girls.
From Shanann's mom.
Right.
from Shanann's mom?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Shanann's
Right.
mom.
And
And I was like, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay, right? And he texts me back, oh, I'm sick to my stomach, blah, blah, blah.
Can you give me a timeline on that, about what time that was?
Let's just say 8:30,
Okay.
and about 8:30 and 30 seconds, I
Okay.
texted Chris, but by 8:31, I was already in my car,
Okay.
driving to his house, right? Like, what the hell's going on here? I have flashlights in my car. Who are we going to look for? Or
He's ready to help.
did they go on a walk because they have a pool in their area? Did they go to use the bathroom in the pool because the girls had to go to the bathroom? Did they get stuck in a bathroom? I'm not leaving them overnight, stuck somewhere,
Yeah.
Right.
right? That was my
It's a
That was
good
the
friend.
initial
let's
thought.
go, right? And so I went over to the house. His door's wide open. He's on the phone with somebody.
Nicole.
I go in the house and I'm like, what the hell?
So that just confirmed it. He was on the phone with, Chris was on the phone with Nicole, but he probably wasn't on the phone the entire time. He probably put it in his pocket.
What's going on? It's like, I don't know. I don't know where they went. Her said she was going to maybe stay at a friend's house. Like, oh, I got all the bullshit.
Okay, I wanna stop you right there though. And again, this is in hindsight.
Yep.
You see Chris at the party, and even before.
Yep.
Was there anything different about that engagement?
No.
Okay.
Nope. When I went into the house, I'm sitting at his table. He's on the phone with someone, and it's like, where the hell are they? I'm like, hey, where do we go? Where do we go look? What do we do? And he says, oh, the cops told me to stay here. I don't know what I'm looking for. They told me just to go to bed, and we'll do
How
this
could you?
tomorrow, and whatever, right? He was just saying things, and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to push him too far. I don't want to bug him. I don't want to
I couldn't sleep knowing my family's
not
out
be
there.
supportive by any means. And so maybe 30 minutes goes by or so, and then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll go home, right? And when I walked out to my truck, my phone rings. Let me back up. While I'm in the house, she's texting my phone. Where's her car? Are the car seats in the car? Where's their medications? Right? All the mother.
So you're thinking
Yeah.
about this.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they got into a fight and she left and went back to North Carolina or something along those lines.
Right.
But then he's like, no, all the stuff is here. And that really did not sit well. Because I'm like, okay, so she would have to like get an Uber that had car seats in it and already have medication. Like, I'm trying to logically think like,
See, I love how they're going down this little rabbit hole of trying to figure how things might have happened. And all you hear from Nicole is she tells Chris, where did they go? Your family's not here. Like, but then these guys seem very genuine people and they're trying to help.
okay, she left and went back to North Carolina. That's where
And you knew her type A personality.
Yeah, I'm like, that's totally what must have happened. And she just needed time to cool down. So, but the stuff being there was really, and then to come to find out her purse was there, her wallet was there, her phone was there.
Correct.
So that, like, that was really the kicker right there.
Now,
that
did
something's
you
not right.
relay that information
Yes.
to her? That the
Yeah.
person
So I
phone-
asked him, I said, where's their medication?
Yeah.
Where's their medicine? He said, oh, she has more than enough medication
Yeah.
than we have at the house.
Did you go inside the garage and see the car
No.
with the car seats?
No.
Did he just told you that?
I didn't want to. I guess in my subconscious did not want me to attack anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nor was I thinking I should. I asked him straight up. I said, is the car in the garage? He said, yes. Car seats? Yes. Where's her phone? It was on the counter. Cops took it. Right? He answered my question,
Yeah.
so I didn't have any reasons to.
And still, your
No.
radar is like, this is the same guy that I've known.
I'm thinking you're the cool, calm-headed guy, and I know her well enough to know that if you try to screw her over, she's taking these kids and she's getting the hell out of here,
Yeah.
right? Because her personality says so.
Yeah.
And so when he said, well, we got in an argument and she said she was just going to take the kids and go to her friend's house, I'm thinking, okay, that's probably it, right? Because nobody comes home from work and says, hey, by the way, you know your best friends, or not best friends, but your friends, they just killed their family.
But at any
Yeah,
point,
no.
but at any point in your mind, it's like, well, number one, that friend would have to live close,
Right.
and then certainly by then the cops would have found they probably would have called every friend that they had.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you get a call from the police?
I did. So when I left his house, I go out, door shut.
Yeah, I was saying he left that night, got a text message from his wife, but then also got a call by the police, which we just listened to yesterday.
I'm standing on his porch. I look down. There's a dead bird on the floor. And I'm thinking, why is that bird on the ground dead? Right? Doesn't happen. I said, yeah, that's not a sign I'm leaving. Right? Right away, I'm like, yeah, that's not a sign of anything, I'm leaving. And I'm walking to my truck and my phone rings, and it's the Frederick Police Department calling my phone. Hey, how's it going? This is, I forget the name, but
Kevin
at
Kovac.
Frederick Police Department. Do you know Chris and Shanann? I said, yeah, I'm at his house right now. And he goes, oh, should I call you back? Right out of the gate, should I call you back? Is this a bad time? I said, I'm actually getting in my truck right now. And he's like, oh, okay. You know, we start talking, and he just asked a few questions. And he goes, hey, I need your email address. And he asked personal information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I may be contacting you in the next few days if I have any other questions, blah, 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 right?
Do you mind disclosing what questions that they asked?
Normal. How do you know them? What's my cell phone number?
Which it's public
called me, but
information.
He wanted to write it down. And I asked him, I said, do you guys have her phone? Yeah, we're going through all the phone numbers on her phone, and we're just calling them all. I don't have any questions. He didn't have major questions of anything. It was
General information.
just, hey, I just want you to have my phone, or I want to have your phone number. I want to have your email address. We may be calling you. You're at the house right now? Yes. What'd you guys talk about? Nothing. I'm just looking for where these kids are. Right?
Well, I'm going to leave that right there. I know there's going to be people that are like, no, keep going. We will continue this tomorrow. The reason why I'm doing this is because, one, if those that want to watch the whole interview in one lump sum, you're allowed to do so. Go ahead, click the link down below, watch it without myself commentating or having my opinions, my theories, my so forth on this video. But I also, not saying this isn't necessarily the suspense, but I would like you guys to start thinking and kind of brainstorming your thoughts about this interview thus far. Kind of like an intermission, but like a day intermission, as you will. So this is part 1. We'll do part 2 tomorrow. Just let me know your guys' thoughts so far listening to Jeremy and Jennifer Lindstrom. Definitely, I'm glad that you guys have brought this to my attention. There was a couple people that sent it to my Instagram saying, hey, they did an interview on another YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, let's take a look. So that's what we did. Again, I thank you guys for being here. Please take care. Be safe. Again, go over to their YouTube channel if you guys want to watch it without myself. It's called Truth Talks Media. And please take care again. Be safe. Keep nerding on. We'll see you guys in the next video.